In the headlines this evening, President Park Geun-hye enters her third-year term in office. Experts see her as a passionate and devoted president, but also point out that her leadership style needs to be improved. A world-renowned researcher says North Korea could have 100 atomic weapons by the year 2020. South Korean intelligence says Pyongyang's fourth nuclear test, if carried out, will have a much greater impact than the previous ones. Korea and China signed provisional free trade agreement today with hopes of ratifying the pact within the first half of this year. We have these stories and more coming right up. Stay with us.
It's very good to have you with us. Welcome to Early Edition at 6, live from Seoul. I'm Daniel Choi.
And I'm Na Hyun-kyung. Thanks for tuning in. Well, exactly 2 years ago from today, President Park Geun-hye was inaugurated as Korea's first female president.
Right. Some thumbs up, some thumbs down for what she has accomplished or failed to accomplish so far. To see how she has done, we have prepared a three-part series on how she is being evaluated on various fronts. And we started with how she handled state affairs. Experts say she will have to do a lot more to earn more parliamentary and public support. Our presidential office correspondent Choi Yoo-sun starts us off.
President Park Geun-hye began her second year in office, vowing to breathe new life into the domestic economy and improve inter-Korean ties to prepare for unification. But everything came to a standstill when the Sewol-ho ferry sank off Korea's southwestern coast on April 16th, claiming the lives of more than 300 people. The government's lax response came under fire, and President Park vowed to strengthen disaster management and revamp her administration. But her personnel selection and insufficient communication were criticized, with two of her prime minister nominees being forced to withdraw amid controversies. A document leaked from the presidential office late last year and a controversial tax policy revision caused the president's approval rating to drop to an all-time low of 29%. Responding to public criticism, President Park has carried out a reshuffle and is expected to name her new chief of staff.
The question is whether the new chief of staff can mediate between the president, the political parties, and the people, while at the same time helping the president.
No expert seems to question the president's commitment to the country or her determination to improve the quality of living in Korea. They say for the Park administration to make progress, she needs to change her leadership style, give more authority to her cabinet, improve communication with the political parties and the public to promote the objectives of her reform policies, such as health insurance and public pension.
What's more important is for Parliament to lead discussions with the government and civic groups and set the framework for an outcome on the issues. If the presidential office takes the driver's seat, it will face a great backlash.
Political observers are unanimous in saying that now is the golden time for the president to better communicate to produce the desired results in an economic and reform drive. Choi Yoo-sun, Arirang News.
Well, North Korea is believed to have 10 to 12 nuclear weapons as of now, but a prominent U.S. researcher says that number could jump by tenfold in the next 5 years. Other researchers say Pyongyang's current warfare capabilities might pose a real threat not only to South Korea, but also to the United States. Arirang's Kim Min-ji has this story.
North Korea could potentially expand its nuclear stockpile to 100 weapons over the next 5 years. This, according to Joel Witt, senior fellow at the U.S.-Korea Institute at Johns Hopkins University, who says Pyongyang is currently believed to possess between 10 to 16 nuclear weapons. He gives three possible scenarios for the North's nuclear expansion, with Pyongyang forecast to double its stockpile at minimal growth, up to 50 at moderate growth, which presumes the nation's nuclear and missile programs continue to develop at the current pace, and in the worst case, a tenfold increase from now. The expert also called on the South Korean government to give up its unrealistic fantasy of unification and see reality, stressing that North Korea is a country that will soon have between 50 to 100 nuclear weapons.
And such developments pose a serious threat not only to the Korean peninsula, but also to the United States. U.S.-based think tank the Heritage Foundation says the North likely possesses the ability to place nuclear weapons on its medium-range missiles, as well as the technology to miniaturize warheads. Saying that Pyongyang has an extensive ballistic missile force, the think tank added the country has deployed about 800 Scud short-range missiles, 300 Nodong medium-range missiles, and 50 Musudan intermediate-range ballistic missiles. It goes on to say that the North continues to develop ICBMs, some capable of hitting the United States. The think tank also noted that North Korea has deployed 70% of its ground forces within 140 kilometers of the demilitarized zone, making it possible to attack South Korea with little or no warning. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
If and when North Korea conducts a fourth nuclear test, it is going to be way more powerful than its predecessors. Local media is reporting that an unnamed government source said the regime is carrying out high explosive detonation tests to gain the technology to miniaturize nuclear warheads and strengthen the blast. The source predicted that the fourth nuclear test would have a yield of about 10 to 15 kilotons. That's triple the force from the first test and double that of the last two tests. The source said no signs of a nuclear test have been detected around the usual nuclear test site, but warned that the regime is ready to conduct one. Meanwhile, South Korea's top nuclear negotiator says the rest of the members of the six-party talks, excluding North Korea, have agreed to hold a round of preliminary talks. But will Pyongyang be interested? That's the million-dollar question. Arirang's Hwang Sung-hee has more.
South Korea, the United States, China, Japan, and Russia have agreed on the need to hold exploratory talks prior to restarting the long-stalled six-party nuclear dialogue. Wrapping up a meeting with his Russian counterpart, Igor Morgulov, in Moscow on Tuesday, South Korea's chief nuclear envoy, Hwang Jung-guk, said the five parties reached such consensus through a series of meetings over the past few weeks. The South Korean envoy said officials discussed when and where the exploratory talks should take place, and added that six-way dialogue involving North Korea is also being taken into account. The prelude meeting will allow the six nations to meet with no strings attached and to test North Korea's sincerity about denuclearization before formally resuming the six-party talks, which haven't been held since late 2008. Seoul and Washington have stressed that Pyongyang first take the necessary steps to end its nuclear program, while China, Russia, and North Korea want to reopen the talks without preconditions. But whether Pyongyang will accept the invitation remains in doubt. The regime has been raising military tensions on the Korean peninsula in protest of the joint military drills between Seoul and Washington that kick off next week. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Gun control laws are strict here in Korea, so rarely you will see an incident involving firearms other than those that involve military personnel or the police. For this one, we have a civilian, a man who is emotionally charged, armed with hunting rifles, shot and killed 3 people in Sejong City today. Police say the suspect, a 50-year-old surnamed Kang, seemed to have had a grudge against his ex-girlfriend, surnamed Kim, over financial issues, although they say that was not the only motive. Kang allegedly shot his ex-girlfriend's father and brother near a convenience store that she owns before shooting her current boyfriend inside the store. He then set the place on fire and fled. Authorities found the suspect dead in an apparent suicide in the nearby city of Gongju a couple of hours after the shootings. The gunman used 2 hunting rifles in the shootings, which he had checked out from a Gongju police station 2 hours earlier. Police say both weapons belonged to him and that he was a licensed hunter. Koreans with hunting licenses are required to store their weapons at police stations, but can check them out during legal hunting periods. Otherwise, gun possession is illegal without government approval here in Korea. Well, in most developed countries, adultery is not a criminal offense, but that's not the case in Korea just yet. Korea's constitutional court has already rejected petitions 4 times in the past, with the rationalization being it could weaken social morality. But that notion is being challenged again, and the answer is set to come out tomorrow. Our Son Jung-in tells us more.
Back in 2008, Korean actress Ok Sori filed a petition with the Constitutional Court challenging the application of criminal law to adultery. She had been sued by her husband for having an affair. She challenged the constitutionality of the law by arguing that a person should have the right to choose the person who they want to love. But the court rejected the appeal, and after an ugly battle with her now ex-husband, a local court sentenced her to 8 months in prison. 7 years has passed since then, but the debate on whether adultery is constitutional or not is still a hot potato in Korea. The law is under review once again after a number of individuals filed petitions in the wake of the old case, and the court is to issue its ruling on Thursday. 4 appeals have been brought before the top court since 1990, but each time the law was ruled constitutional. However, the latest request by Ok in 2008 was short of 1 vote to overturn the statute, with a number of judges saying the law is unconstitutional, surpassing those who didn't for the first time. More than 6 of 9 justices must agree to repeal the law. Adultery has been seen as a criminal offense in Korea for over 60 years. It remains to be seen whether the criminality of what many see as a private matter will be overturned in Thursday's ruling. 손정인, Arirang News.
Business Park face a one-day entry ban. 77.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online. Connecting you with experts on the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best. With Na Hyun-kyung and Daniel Che.
Arirang News.
Arirang News.
Arirang News.
On Early Edition at 6.
Police in London say they have reason to believe 3 British schoolgirls who left for Turkey last week are now in Syria to join the Islamic State militant group. They are believed to have been lured in via social media such as Twitter and Facebook. Lee Ji-yoon reports.
The 3 British teenage girls that boarded a flight to Istanbul last week are now believed to be in Syria. London's Metropolitan Police said Tuesday that it has enough reasons to believe the 2 15-year-olds and 1 16-year-old have made it to Syria, presumably to join the so-called Islamic State militant group. With reports that at least one of the girls contacted an IS recruiter in Syria via social media before leaving London, British authorities have been working closely with Turkey over the past week to try to find the girls before they could enter Syria. However, with this latest news, it seems that their efforts have fallen short. Turkey's deputy prime minister criticized British authorities for notifying Turkey about the missing girls too late, 3 days after they disappeared, saying the girls arrived in Istanbul as tourists. The Metropolitan Police disputes that account, saying it notified the Turkish embassy in London a day after the teens went missing. Security officials say so far at least 500 British nationals have traveled to join the militants in Syria, often via Turkey. While continuing to lure in young people to join the terrorist group, Islamic State militants have also abducted at least 150 Assyrian Christians in northeastern Syria. Syrian Christian activists said Tuesday that the militants raided their homes, kidnapping people, including children, women, and the elderly. Earlier, the British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the militants abducted 90 people from villages inhabited by the ancient Christian minority. Lee Ji-yoon, Arirang News.
Greece's new reform proposal was approved by Eurozone finance ministers in Brussels on Tuesday, extending Athens' bailout program by 4 months. Korea's central bank chief welcomed the news but said there's still a long road ahead. For more on this story, here's Arirang's Hwang Ji-hye.
Greece brushed off a major uncertainty to receiving a bailout extension on Tuesday. Its European creditors approved a reform proposal and extended the loan program by 4 more months. The key creditors involving the European Commission, European Central Bank, and International Monetary Fund thought the list of reforms was serious enough, but warned that it's only a starting point.
This list is just an indication of the kind of reforms that they would like to push, like to replace, and also the ones that they would like to continue. And it's going to take time to really get into the details and to design a new contract or agreement which will carry us on for 4 months.
Greece's reform plan includes measures to tackle tax evasion, corruption, and reviewing public spending at every level. The extension now has to be approved by some lawmakers in several countries, including Germany, before midnight this Saturday. That is when the current bailout agreement is set to expire. On Greece's approval, Korea's central bank governor Lee Ju-yeol said it was good news for the global financial market. He added, though, that uncertainty still lies ahead and it's too early to be overly optimistic. Hwang Ji, Arirang News.
U.S. markets closed on a new high on Tuesday, buoyed by positive news on the Greek bailout program extension and indications that key interest rates will not change anytime soon. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 both beat Friday's record close, ending 0.5% and 0.3% up, respectively. The tech-heavy Nasdaq came just 1.6% shy of the record close set in March of 2000. The rally came after U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen told the Senate Banking Committee in her semi-annual testimony that the central bank will remain patient on raising the near-zero key interest rate. She said the Fed will consider hikes on a, quote, meeting-by-meeting basis, though it was unlikely for at least the next couple of meetings, an indication traders took to mean there won't be an increase until the fall. There's less than a week to go until this year's Mobile World Congress opens in Barcelona, Spain. If last year was about introducing fifth-generation technologies, experts say this year's event will focus on how these 5G technologies can be integrated into the concept of Internet of Things and create synergy. Global telecom service providers will be showing how all objects in our everyday lives could be connected through 5G technologies. Korea's SK Telecom and KT will also take part, picturing the future with 5G as they aim to commercialize these technologies by the year 2020.
And in other news, South Korea and China signed the provisional agreements on their bilateral free trade pact this morning. What stands out in this deal is the highest number of Korean goods enjoying what's called preferential tariffs. Arirang's Song Ji-sun has this report.
Korea's Trade Ministry said Wednesday Seoul and Beijing exchanged provisional agreements 3 months after concluding negotiations on a bilateral free trade deal in November last year. Tariffs will be lifted on over 90% of all imported goods from both sides within 20 years of the FTA taking effect. The free trade deal with China will see the largest number of Korean goods enjoying preferential tariffs, as it will also include more than 300 items manufactured at the Inter-Korean Industrial Complex in Kaesong. Manufacturers in the Kaesong complex will get a boost by taking advantage of the lower labor costs in North Korea, while the South Korean origin tags will strengthen their chances of entering the Chinese market. The two sides also focused on protecting their weak sides. Over 500 major agriculture products, including rice, which is one of the most sensitive items for Korean farmers, were excluded from the deal. The two sides also excluded passenger vehicles and auto parts to support the domestic manufacturing sectors. Korea's exports to China, its biggest trading partner, currently accounts for a quarter of its total outbound shipments. Seoul and Beijing hope to finalize the formal signing within the first half of the year and have it ratified by both parliaments before the year ends. Further details on the agreement can be found on Seoul's FTA website. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Korea's consumer sentiment picked up for the second straight month in February. The consumer sentiment index by the Bank of Korea came in at 103 this month, up a single point from January. Now, the analysis behind this figure is that it went up simply because people had to spend more, for example, on getting ready for the new school year, not because they felt the economy was recovering. February's number is lower than the level recorded last May when consumer sentiment declined sharply after the Seoul ferry disaster. Still, a reading above 100 means optimists outnumber pessimists.
We'll shift gears to a different report now. Korea has confirmed its first ever case of the human-to-human transmission of a deadly tick-borne virus that claimed 10 lives last year. This is raising concerns of a possible epidemic. Our Kwon So-hwa reports.
A bite from this 2 to 3 millimeter sized tick could be fatal. So far, the tick-borne virus, or thrombocytopenia syndrome, was only known to infect people through a direct bite. But now, for the first time in Korea, it has been confirmed that person-to-person infection is possible.
Sanitation and health authorities said Wednesday that 4 people contracted the virus from a 68-year-old patient who had been infected through a tick bite last year. It's believed the virus was passed on to them as they conducted CPR on her. The patient died a day after she was admitted to hospital. The medical staff showed symptoms of the virus, such as fever and muscle pain, but went on to make full recoveries. The case is raising alarm bells inside and outside of Korea, especially as it comes at a time when epidemics are causing fear across the world, with the deadly Ebola virus still not contained. There are also questions about why the cases were only confirmed nearly half a year after the medical staff had shown clear symptoms of the virus. Experts say the SFTS virus could be contagious through the respiratory system, blood, or other secretions, and have raised concerns this virus could become a much bigger problem in Korea. Globally, this is not the first time person-to-person infection has been recorded. China reported 5 similar cases between 2012 and 2013. In recent years, health authorities in Korea have advised people to wear long sleeves and pants when going to grassy areas, especially during the warmer seasons. Last year, out of the 24 people who contracted the virus, 10 died. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Let's shift our focus to the cultural front. 2 famous photographers have come together for a special exhibition that makes our everyday surroundings look like they are from a different world.
Right, to those of you who think you can become the next Robert Capa just because you can click on with your smartphone, it's time to go for some education this time, to take a look at a blend of monochrome and landscape photo courtesy of Michael Kenna and Park Geun-hye together. Im Yoon-hee takes us to that exhibition.
Park Geun-hye first gained international recognition when he sold one of his photographs to Elton John. Since then, Park, who specializes in capturing the beautiful pine trees and landscapes of Korea, has maintained his fame, continuing to attract some of the world's most famous people to his exhibitions. Park, nicknamed Mr. Pine Tree, has now joined forces with one of the most influential photographers of the modern age, Michael Kenna. Their works share striking similarities, and now you can see them displayed side by side at Gallery Kong in central Seoul.
The foundation of my work is landscapes, and Michael Kenna works in traditional black and white. The photos are absolutely beautiful.
In fact, both photographers work in black and white, and both have mastered the fine art of photography, making use of all the elements. To the naked eye, the landscape may seem common, but through the special lenses of these photographers, the images become almost surreal.
It takes regular practice, a lot of hard work to get there. But yes, these are all common landscapes, and beauty, absolute beauty is in the commonplace.
The 2 artists may have similarities, but they also have their own unique artistic sensibilities, their own way of portraying the beauty of this world. Im Yoon-hee, Arirang News.
Well, it was a fairly overcast day today, which you might think would leave most people feeling a little down. But according to some research, bright sunny weather doesn't actually do much to affect a person's mood either.
Is that so? I mean, I personally feel like I get affected by the weather a lot. But let's see what our weathercaster Michelle Park thinks about that. Michelle.
Hello guys, I have to say that's true for me because I had a great day and I was in a very happy mood, even though it was very cloudy and gloomy outside. However, it could have been better without the high levels of fine dust across the country. And as you can see, the sky is still overcast and rain has been falling on and off on Jeju Island. The rain clouds are expected to move up towards the capital and will bring up to 5 millimeters of rain and 1 centimeter of snow to some parts of Gangwon-do province through early tomorrow morning. So for those of you on the roads, please drive carefully. Now, looking ahead, we have more rain coming up this weekend for some regions, and after the rain today, the highs will drop down quite a lot, so be sure to bundle up when you're heading outside tomorrow. And now taking a look at the readings for tomorrow, so we'll start off the Thursday morning at 1 and gets up high to 4 in the afternoon, while Daegu and Busan will top to 11 and 14 degrees. Moving over to other regions, Jeju Island gets up to 9, Dokdo hits down to 8, while Mankyungang dips low to -7 degrees. That's all for now. I'm Michelle Park, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Michelle, for the weather update. That's a wrap from us at this hour. Have a great rest of the evening. If you are tuning in from Korea, this has been Nae Hyun-gyo.
And if you're tuning in from other countries, have a great start to your day. This has been Daniel Che. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Bye for now.